It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth, financial literacy educator and speaker, entrepreneur, and chairman of the board of A Bank Information. Take charge of your financial future with Your Personal Bank. Now here's Ference Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. And again, first thing I'm going to say is Merry Christmas. And I know, not politically correct, but I identify as a person who loves Christmas. So please don't take it away from me. So again, those of you who've been listening know for a while I'm not politically correct. I don't do things to offend people. All right? I just honestly share how I feel. And it is. It's in my heart, it's in my blood, it's in my soul, it's who I am. And I'm a combination of course, you know, I had a very wise mentor many years ago, very successful multimillionaire businessman, who he said, we're all a combination of the books we read and the people we hang out with. And I made a concerted effort for a number of years to read every book I could get my hands on, positive mental attitude, success building attitude book I could because I didn't have the best attitude back then. I didn't have the best. I lacked confidence. Okay. Believe it or not, I lacked communication skills. It's kind of funny. People talk to me all the time today about how I'm kind of a natural on the radio, and I'm able to share concepts and ideas in a thoughtful, simple manner, makes sense. I've shared, I've had many of you over the last several years that I've been on the radio sent me some wonderful messages of encouragement, and I really appreciate that, by the way. And you can, like I said, if you want to do that, you can send me a message at yourpersonalbank.com. I'll be happy to read those. I'll respond to them as best I can, of course. I had one guy that not too long ago, he said, I've been listening to your show for a number of months, and gosh, I agree with 95% of what you say. What am I kidding? I agree with 98% of what you say. And he goes, oh, let's be real. I agree with you more than I agree with myself. And I just had to laugh, and it was great. And shared a message back with him. We chatted. I don't know. We'll see. He might be become a client. That's what it looks like. We'll see. But again, those messages, again, I appreciate them. What I'm doing is not the easiest thing in the world. I'm counterculture, man. Those of you that are baby boomers should get that. The hippies, they were cool. They stuck it to the man, right? And they were against counterculture. They wore the long hair, and they rejected their parents and the dominant culture of the time, right? Well, guess what? I'm now in the counterculture because I reject the dominant culture of the time. And I know many of you do too. I'm a fiscally conservative, I guess Caucasian, male. Okay, so I often joke I'm the most discriminated against group in the country right now. I'm a first generation immigrant. My dad was Hungarian, so I'm half Hungarian, and he escaped communism. Literally, risked his life to come and ended up in America. Did it all legally as a political refugee for a better life for him and his family, his future legacy. And I'm that legacy. I also served in the military. And partially, I did it for several reasons, but one of them certainly on my mind and my heart at the time, even as a young person, was I wanted to support and defend the freedoms that we had as citizens. That was important to me even then because those lessons and those stories and those messages from my family heritage, my dad escaping, like I said, communism, oppressive government, overbearing, oppressive government that wanted to take control basically of just about every aspect of everybody's lives, right? He rejected that. So I guess I'm following my dad's footsteps in a way. And I'm in a field that is not necessarily, it's filled with a lot of people that are politically correct, and they are that way because, well, let's face it, we're in a relationship-based business. If you meet with a financial person, most people will do business with that person if they like them and trust them, okay? Oftentimes agree with them or whatever. They want to have a certain level of expertise too, but there has to be that likability. And I understand that some of the things that I say, not everybody's going to agree with. But I understand as a result of that some people won't reach out to me or won't become clients of mine because they don't agree with my stands and where I am. Now, a lot do. I understand that, but there's some that don't. And so as a result, obviously, some are going to, I will lose some business as a result. How much? It's hard to measure, but I know I'm losing business, some business at least, gaining others, and I appreciate those, obviously. But in my heart and who I am, I can't walk away from the fact that this is more important than money. In other words, our very ability to earn a dollar, earn money, keep it, pass it on to the next generation, is based on the foundational principles that are in our Constitution, the freedoms that we have as citizens. And without those very basic things, we couldn't, all the financial planning advice in the world, all the investment ideas in the world will not benefit you if you don't have the ability to accumulate wealth. In other words, look around the world. Even today, there are large swaths of this world where your ability to gain wealth is at least severely curtailed, if not impossible. I mean, take example of pretty much many communist countries, like the North Koreas and Cubas and places like that of the world, and your opportunities to build wealth are non-existent just about, unless you're part of the favored chosen few. You're in the in crowd, right? And it's just sad because it's a situation, of course, where a small minority. Here's the fallacy. A lot of people that support progressivism, Marxism, socialism, communism, whatever you want to call it. In other words, big government. Government being the solution, right, instead of the problem, as Reagan said. If you look to government as the solution, you fall into that category. And the problem is, Benjamin Franklin said, if you have a government that's strong enough to give you something, it's also equally as strong that it can take it away. So you got to count on nameless, faceless bureaucrats, and in most cases politicians that you'll never know, never meet, right? You got to trust them that they will take care of you, quote unquote. Now, sometimes people, especially these days, challenge people's faith. I know that's not politically correct, and I've been a Christian. I'm just going to share some of my personal story here today because it is in the holidays. And if anybody does want to reach out to me in terms of getting more information, you can contact me at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. I'll be happy to help you. I'll contact you after the first of the year because I'm enjoying the holidays with my family, as I hope you are too, or your loved ones. But I've been a Christian for something like 3 decades. Okay, I'm not going to change who I am. It's a part of who I am. It's in my bloodstream, right? And my faith has been built and challenged and grown over time. And I've had too many experiences. Some of them, when I share some of the stories on some of the faith-building stories that I've lived through in my life, raise the hairs on the back of your neck, so to speak. They're powerful, okay? And I'm not saying my life has been perfect. By no means has it. I've had challenges, of course. But you're not going to change my mind. You're not going to convince me otherwise. But here's what I was going to say is, I find it incredible that somebody is more willing. So many people these days are so willing to put their faith in an imperfect human being, a nameless, faceless bureaucrat, or an elected official that, again, doesn't know them. They'll never ever meet that person. So the elected official will never know that person's name or face or anything, but they're going to trust that person, that flawed human being, as we all are, to take care of them. They're going to put more faith and trust in that government, in other words, because what is government? It's made up of people, right? What makes those people any more special or better than anyone else? Nothing. They're going to put their faith in that, but they can't put their faith in a higher power, let's say, that maybe might have just created this whole universe, for example, and various things like that. To me, And you're not your typical, it's so funny to get, people who are conservative. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm Caucasian, male, conservative, how should I say, a Christian, gosh, I just, military, gosh, I can just tick them off. Business owner, all the bad stuff for a liberal, right? Right down the line. A Second Amendment supporter, own guns, okay? All of that, right? My point is, I kind of got off track there, but my point is, to me, that's a bigger stretch, just to believe or trust somebody you've never met. You see them on TV or hear them on the radio or whatever, and they're going to promise this or that or whatever, and you're going to actually believe that person and put your faith. It's faith, folks. It's a leap of faith, and that you're going to trust that person to take care of you. When they have a lot of ulterior motives, look, folks, there's no big secret about politicians. I don't care what stripe, who they are. A politician, and I'm going to really put a politician, career politicians in particular. There's a difference. A career politician really has two priorities. And Thomas Sowell stated this. I thought he said it really well, where he said the two priorities are, 1, to get elected, 2, to get reelected, and 3, well, every other priority falls far below 1 and 2. And that's just the facts. If you're dealing with somebody who's a career politician, I can assure you with just about 100% accuracy, their priorities are to get elected and reelected. And that's about it. And they'll say or do whatever, many of them will say or do whatever it takes to get elected or reelected, because many of them have found that working, or being a representative for the government is a pretty darn cushy gig. They don't actually really do a lot, okay? And they get paid really well for it, and they get an awful lot of bennies for it. I mean, most of them become multimillionaires, folks, especially in the federal level. So you're going to put your faith and trust in that? See, during this holiday season, when you're talking to some of your kids, grandkids, or people that do have some of these beliefs, and maybe they challenge your beliefs, which is harder, which is a bigger leap of faith, right? A flawed human being, career politician who has ulterior motives to get elected, or something higher. Stay tuned in the next segment. We'll talk about some more big picture things and things that thoughts that I think are really, really important at this time. So stay tuned.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to Your Personal Bank Show. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everybody. And like I said, I love, it's kind of fun. I kind of get a kick out of doing that because I know it's politically incorrect. And what I found is I do it on purpose. And it's fun to watch what the responses of some people are. Most of the time, again, I'm not doing this to offend or upset anyone in any way. It's just how I feel. That's who I am. That's important to me. It's been that way my whole life, and I don't feel like I don't want to change. I identify as that. I identify as a person who loves Christmas. Okay. So anyway, the bottom line is I love to do it to see what kind of response people get. And the funny part is most of the time, whether I'm shopping or whatever, it doesn't matter. I do that. And most of the time I'll get a bit of a surprise look from somebody. And about half the time they'll say Merry Christmas to you too. It's kind of funny. It's almost like I give them the freedom, the license to respond in kind. It's what they want to say. It's how they feel too. But so many people these days are afraid to say things like that are politically incorrect. And now with the cancel culture we're in, it's just gotten worse, right? So, the war on Christmas started years ago, all right? And then, hey, it's a war, right? I haven't given up. I haven't surrendered. And why should you? If that's how you feel, look, if you don't, that's fine. I don't have any problem if you don't feel that way about it. And I don't have any problem if you don't like Christmas. That's fine. In fact, I don't have any problem if you hate Christmas. That's fine. I love it. Don't take that away from me. And if you want to hate on it, hate on it. I won't take that away from you, right? I'm a libertarian. Live and let live, right? So, one of the things I'm just kind of sharing some various thoughts and things like that I think are very valuable at the end of the year and that kind of thing. But one of the things I want to share is these are the time of year I always like to think about what do I want next year to look like, right? And there's no question for a lot of people it's been quite the challenging year, a lot of changes, for some more than others, but it's been interesting, to say the least, and in a lot of different ways, from business and careers and politics, the government, everything, right? And so, thinking about what are you going to do next year? I've been sharing. I'll just share a few things that we got some exciting things coming up with the Your Personal Bank Show, by the way. We're going to be kicking off the year. First of all, the New Year's, I'll be sharing my Wheel of Life. I've shared that every year now for the last roughly 20 years. This was very impactful in my life, and it's what's important about how we gain success and balance and goal setting in our lives. I learned this from a very, very successful gentleman. Actually, he was the second wealthiest gentleman in Australia, Peter Daniels. And I heard him speak, and he shared this concept, this idea that's not new. It's been around for, over 50 years. You can look up Wheel of Life and find it. But the way he shared and explained it, it was life-changing for me. And I took copious notes, and I've read it, and I've copied it down, and I've shared it with staff and salespeople, and it became a regular thing with our company, so much so that I would get asked by our sales staff, would you share that at our first meeting of the year? Because, beginning of the year, New Year's resolutions, goal setting, all those, and it all kind of ties in. So I'll be sharing that. So stay tuned. I encourage you to do that. I'm also excited because on January 13th, Thursday, January 13th, I will be at the Renaissance Phoenix Downtown Hotel. I'll be speaking. My first public speaking engagement in 2 years because of COVID. I'll be speaking, of course, at the Business Minds Unite event. They've invited me to, I'm actually the last speaker of the day, so it's quite an honor. I feel quite honored. They bring in a large number of speakers, a number of very successful business owners, mentors, marketing, financial literacy, all types of stuff. So folks that want to really, like they said, expand their business, expand their network, gain mentors, all that. It's going to be really exciting. So again, go to, if you want more information on it, go to businessmindsunite.com. For more information, get tickets. It's on January 13th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Renaissance Phoenix Downtown Hotel. So I'm excited about that. I also got, after that, the following week, we're going to be airing interview that I will be doing with Blake Masters, candidate for U.S. Senate for Arizona. He will be, that's going to air on January 18th, by the way. So really encourage you to the 15th and the 18th. It'll be airing on the different various radio stations. And I'm going to encourage you to listen to that because he'll be, if he wins the Republican primary, he's in second place right now, coming up strong and fast, great fundraising. He's a business guy, not a politician, not a career bureaucrat. Gotten very good responses from him. Find out more about him. Stay tuned to Your Personal Bank Show. Like I said, I'll do a full hour interview with him. We're going to learn a lot more about Blake Masters, candidate for U.S. Senate for Arizona. And again, if he wins the Republican nomination, then he'll be running against Mark Kelly, Democrat, who actually, by the way, over the last 2 years, has the most liberal voting record in the U.S. Senate in the United States, period. He has voted 100% liberal, Mark Kelly has, and I find that kind of offensive, frankly, according to Conservative Review. In fact, I've been sharing with people this is a great resource to go to if you're wanting to learn more about how your representatives actually have voted. Go to libertyscore.conservativereview.com. Again, it's Liberty Score, Liberty score.conservativeview.com. There's a map pulls up. You can choose any representative, House or Senate, U.S. House or Senate. Click by state. You can click by score. Mark Kelly, senator from Arizona, Democrat, has voted 100% liberal every single vote. His voting record is even more liberal than Chuck Schumer of New York. Now, folks, that's saying something. So I always say, look, forget what the media tells you. Forget what the candidates or the representatives, what they tell you. Look at what they've actually done. And you can check on this Liberty score on Conservative Review and see what they voted on each of the voting things. The point I'm making here is Arizona is not more liberal than New York. So is Mark Kelly representing Arizona? I think not. And especially when you consider his voting record, what he's actually done is more liberal than Chuck Schumer of New York or Bernie Sanders of Vermont. That's hard to do, folks, but he's managed to accomplish it. So, we need to replace that guy in the midterm elections coming up here soon. And Blake Masters, I believe, could be that person. So, again, stay tuned. Those are some of the things that we have coming up that I'll be doing and we'll be doing. We're going to be bringing on more candidates, people that we think are fiscally conservative, obviously, not career politicians, believe in term limits, things like that. I'll be asking Blake about the balanced budget amendment, where he stands on that, and would he be willing to support or sponsor a bill for that? Is what I'm trying to say. Look, it may not pass right away, but you got to start somewhere, right? And that's how ideas start. You got to germinate the ideas and get them going, moving. So, again, stay tuned. Your Personal Bank Show. You can contact me for more information at yourpersonalbank.com or toll-free 866-268-4422. I'll get back with you after the first of the year, of course. And stay tuned to the next segment. I got some other cool stuff to share with you, so it'll be fun. So don't miss it.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to Your Personal Bank Show. We've just been sharing a lot of different ideas and thoughts. I don't want to discount the challenges that many people have gone through this past year, or 2 years even. The 15 days to slow the spread of COVID has turned into, we're in our second year. It's caused a lot of change. A lot of frustration. We had to do some major changes with our business. I had to come to some tough decisions on changes and what we were going to do with our staff and all kinds of different things like that. And, it's ended up working out great. It's been a blessing, in many ways. But, going through those changes and things like that is difficult. A lot of people have to, work from home and all those other kinds of things that have happened, and it's upended families. It's upended businesses. A lot of small businesses have been severely curtailed or no longer in business even. And when I see that, I'm saddened by it because I, as an entrepreneur, business owner, I get it. I understand it. I've owned several businesses. I've had a business failure, a couple of them actually, and I've had I've had business successes. Learned the hard way sometimes, and I know what it's like and what's it. Unless you've gone through it and done it yourself, it's tough to understand. But those of you that are business owners understand. It's almost like one of your kids because you invest your time, your energy, your ideas, blood, sweat, and tears, right? It's a part of you, and most small business owners in particular have a passion for what they do. That's why they got into it. So it's more than it's not just about the money. I mean, certainly you want financial security and success, of course, and anyone does, but oftentimes that's not what drives someone into a certain business. I know that's not the driving motivation or force for me either. I've shared the story so many times. My wife says, I can tell you, when I used to go and meet with clients in person, work from home mostly now, which is a blessing in its own. I love it. I don't think I'd want to go back now, but back then, I'd come home and she could always tell when I had a good day because I met with somebody who got it. I'd share with them the personal bank concept and help them, maximize their returns and reduce their taxes and offset inflation and create positive arbitrage. So I knew, and they got it. It clicked, and their financial future was going to be enhanced. It was going to be better because we had met. And that was the juice. That was the passion. That was the excitement for me. And she goes, I can tell you had a good day. Yeah. And said, yeah. And then I'd be all excited. And I tell the story about how this person or couple or whoever it was I met or group of folks, and it clicked. They got it. And that's what drives me. It still does today, actually. And yes, I've been very successful doing this and such, and gotten, I say I get paid well. I mean, I'm not complaining. Okay, certainly could make a lot more if I did more things or worked harder. But I like the balance I have in my life and with my family, and I like where I'm at. How's that? And actually, COVID has enhanced that because we've been able to shut down some of our cost of business and various things. And again, I'm working from home far more, not traveling like I was. Traveling around the country, speaking to investor groups and such. As much as I enjoyed that, don't get me wrong, it also at the same time, it was a double-edged sword because it took me away from my family. And many of those events were on the weekends. So here I am, flying out on a Thursday or Friday for a 1 or 2 day event, for example. And maybe I'm speaking on Friday or Saturday or even Sunday. And I struggled with that. And as much as I enjoyed it and working, talking and meeting with the people and helping them, this was time away from my family. So now being able to do things online through the radio, most of the time I work from home. Gosh, I have lunch and dinner with my family on average 5-6 days a week. I go to the station maybe 1 day a week, might meet with a client or two or whatever. It's a good life. And I guess my point I'm trying to get at is not everybody's had that same result. And what I would want to say is think about what you want. We tend, as human beings, we tend to get what we focus on. So what my recommendation is, if you're not where you want to be, or this past year or two has kind of kicked you in the pants and knocked you down some. I've been there, man. I've been flat on my face. Heck, I've been below water, right? Underwater. I've been there, done that. I get it. One of the best things I could probably share with you, and the first thing you need to do is start to think about, start to dream again about what do you want? What do you want your life to look like? Start to paint a picture of what that would be, what it would be like. You may not be able to describe all the details yet, but start literally painting the picture in your mind. That's the best place to start. And I guess what I'm going to do is in the next segment, I'm going to share with you a little bit further about what to do and how to get back up and get going again if you haven't, to take things to the next, or if you're pretty happy where you're at but you want to go to the next level, what can you do to do those things? So stay tuned.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ference Toth.
Welcome back to Your Personal Bank Show. I'm starting to share a little bit about what if you've been knocked down a little bit, or a lot even. What if COVID shut down your business, or you lost your job, or a myriad of other things that may have happened, right? Family problems. They always talk about it during the holidays. It's sometimes the most joyous time of the year, and also the most sad or lonely time of the year. And a lot of it depends on your situation at the time. And I understand it. I've been there, and I guess what I want to try to say is, although I don't understand everybody's situation, I do understand a lot of heartache and pain. I've been through some of those things, and probably the most difficult thing I've had to deal with in my lifetime was the loss of my dad when I was 7 years old. He died in a freak drowning accident, of all things. He had been a college competition swimmer. He was 33 years old at the time, healthy, fit. He was a soccer coach, played on a soccer team. In fact, when he was in Hungary, he had before he had left and escaped the Soviets, he was about 19 at that time. But he'd actually even played on a semi-professional soccer team. And in Europe, that's a pretty big deal. So this is a guy who was an athlete, great shape, healthy, and we're at a soccer party of all things, doing something that he loved. And the next, somebody kicked the ball. We lived on a lake. We were upper middle class. He had again he'd come to the United States, learned English, went to college, met my mom. That's why I came along, and my 3 kids, and I was the oldest of 3. He was an acoustical engineer, very smart guy, doing well. We lived on a lake, the whole thing, right? Upper middle class, living the American dream, right? And my mom, who was a school teacher but was a stay-at-home full-time mom, 3 young kids. I was 7, oldest of 3. Somebody kicks the ball out into the water at this soccer party, and he swims out to get it, and suddenly he goes down, doesn't come up. I had actually gone to the bathroom. I was coming back, and everybody's just running around and screaming. I remember hearing my mom screaming, this blood-curdling scream. I know nothing like I'd ever heard before. It's like it's like it happened yesterday. I can still remember that feeling. That it's that sinking feeling in your stomach. Your stomach just drops because there's something really, really bad. I still have that. When I think about it and I hear that scream in my mind, I still feel that feeling. And that's just something happened decades ago, but it's still that powerful of a presence, and in my life at least. And I knew something horrible had happened, just the way everybody was acting and running around. And anyway, they couldn't find him. And, of course, they called the paramedics, and next thing I know, there's fire trucks, and there's paramedics, and there's police cars, and just anything you imagine. I'm a 7-year-old kid, not really fully comprehending what was going on, right? I just remember the chaos and the panic, and anyway, then next thing I know, there's divers, and they go in the water, and this is at a lake, and they're diving, and anyway, somewhere at that point, some family friends finally took us because my mom was hysterical at this point. And we as kids just didn't know what was going on. And asking questions, and I remember crying and just being, really, really upset because where's my dad? And it was tough. So finally, I don't know, it was hours and hours later. It was pretty late that night. My mom finally comes home and tells us Dad's in the hospital. He's still alive. The divers apparently had found him like 2 hours later, still holding the soccer ball of all things. They still can't explain it. It makes no sense, no logical sense whatsoever. The ball itself, as the divers and the doctors said later, that alone should have been buoyant enough to bring him up, but it didn't. To this day, nobody really understands why. So she, kind of shared with us, a little bit, and it wasn't good. And I remember kind of falling asleep a little bit that night, and it was about. Then I remember I obviously fell asleep just from exhaustion. I think, I was still a pretty young kid, and I remember getting woken up early in the morning. Finally, the sun had just come up. My mom came in the room, and and I remember she wanted to talk to us, and the 3 of us, and I'm the oldest. Like I said, I'm 7. And I remember my mom saying, your dad died a couple hours ago. This is something that happened decades ago. And those words and those thoughts still bring emotion to my heart and tears in my eyes. And it's the toughest thing that I've ever had to live through in my life. I understand the sense of loss of a loved one, somebody you care about deeply. And I know some of you, and maybe I'm talking to somebody right now, maybe, God's put this on my heart to share this with you right now, and it may be more than one, that you're hearing this as I'm sharing this very idea and these thoughts, my story, that maybe it'll encourage you through this tough time, this joyous Christmas season. It took me a long time. I'm talking years and years. But I finally got to the point I could even talk about it, okay? And growing up, I was a Boy Scout, And I remember being the only, and this is in a time that, divorce was almost unheard of. And I lived in an upper class neighborhood still, right? I remember being the Boy Scout troop. I'm the only boy in the entire Boy Scouts who doesn't have a dad, right? I remember, and we would have father-son weekend campouts, and I was the one that always had to stay in the Scoutmaster's tent with, I never had my own dad, right? And those were tough things, and I remember being upset and angry and frustrated and crying out to God and people, and sometimes acted out even because it wasn't fair. I was like, why don't I have a dad, right? Why does everybody else get one, but I don't, right? So I understand those sense of loss, like I said, and that sense of unfairness sometimes that life throws at you. And I guess my point I want to get at is through a lot of help, through a lot of people, a lot of soul searching, and I still don't understand it, but I understand and accept it's part of what created me who I am today. It's also, when I said earlier, Merry Christmas, and how I kind of enjoy it, and it's not politically correct, and why I identify as somebody who loves Christmas, it's because that was the one time of the year that the family would get together, and it'd be all the aunts and the uncles. We had family, and my uncle did his best. He was a good guy who tried to kind of fill that dad role, at times and do things. He was very busy. He owned a business and all, but that was the time of the year, the one time of the year that he had time to slow down, spend some time. He had his own kids and stuff too, but he actually had time to spend with me and my brother and sister, and be the dad for us that we didn't have sometimes. And I remember we would decorate the house, and he loved train sets, so I love trains today. We'd set up these huge train sets up around the Christmas tree, right, and things like that. And we would just, for hours do those kinds of things, and it evokes some very special memories for me, because I have a few memories of my dad, but not many. I was young. I was only 7 when he died in that accident. So the memories that I have are mostly with my uncle, and mostly around Christmas. So I think you can understand now why, when there are people that don't like Christmas, I get it, and there's some people that are sad about it, but those that hate it and try to take it away from others, what they don't understand is they're trying to take away, from me at least, some of my only positive memories about a dad figure in my life. And I know there's others like me out there who have family memories and things like that around things like the holidays, like Christmas and New Year's and stuff. And in my case, maybe the only ones they've got. And when you attack that, you're attacking those childhood memories. And those are dear and cherished memories of mine that I won't allow anyone to take away from me. I'm sorry. And if that's not acceptable to you, because for whatever reason you don't like Christmas, or someone else doesn't like Christmas, and you don't want other people to share that joy, I'm sorry. But you're not going to take that away from me. And I don't think it's right or fair in any way, shape, or form to try to take that away from someone else. In other words, there's an Indian proverb, and I'm paraphrasing it. So many times we have people these days, especially that's again why I get so offended by things like the war on Christmas or cancel culture and things like that, and I just choose to be counterculture. I won't listen, because unless you walk a mile in my moccasins, that's how the Indian proverb goes. You can't judge me or understand me until you've walked a mile in my moccasins. In other words, you don't know my situation. You don't know my story. You don't know how important the Christmas season is to me. So yes, I love everything about it. I love the music. I'm a musician on top of it. But I remember my uncle loved the music. And we'd play Christmas songs, like I said, and we put up our train sets, and we'd we drink cocoa and make cookies with my aunt, and we do all those kinds of things. And again, that was the one time of the year that I felt like I had a complete family. And it's not my mom's fault. I'm not trying to dish on my negative anything on my mom. She did the best she could. But there was always something missing. You know what I mean? When you only have one parent. A lot of people get that. And in her case, it wasn't a divorce or anything. It wasn't her fault. I couldn't blame her for that, right? My dad died in a freak accident. We did the best we could. But that, again, was the one time. And she knew it was important. We made it important. And we spent like the full 2 weeks break we had from school and all that during that time. And so that's why I identify as a person who loves Christmas. And I understand the pain and the sorrow that can be associated with it or other things too. But I also understand the joy. And before you criticize something or try to take something away from someone else or a group of people, I would just ask that you maybe get to find out if someone loves something that you hate or don't want, maybe ask them, have a little compassion. And I could say that same thing about faith, because I have some stories about that similar, which I won't share today because we're running out of time. But I have some similar stories with faith that are as strong as my story I just shared with you about Christmas, at least to me. So if people would just start to have a little bit of compassion for one another and maybe a little bit of understanding for one another, I guess that would be my wish. I guess if I'm going to have a Christmas wish or a New Year's resolution, I hope we gain a little bit of that, a little bit of understanding, a little bit of compassion for our fellow man. Because we're all just human beings. We're all trying to do the best we know how to do. Most of us, we're trying to get through this life. And a lot of us, I know myself, trying to make it a little bit better place, try to leave it a little bit better than when we came in, right? And for not only for ourselves, but others around us, our loved ones, and those we encounter. And my hope is that if you and I do get a chance to meet this next year or whenever, again, if you come out to the Business Minds Unite on Thursday, January 13th at the Renaissance Phoenix Downtown Hotel, go to businessmindsunite.com for tickets and more information. I'd love to meet you. Or contact me at toll-free 866-268-4422 or your personal bank. And my hope, my prayer, my wish would be that us meeting, as a result of that, your life is improved in some way. So as long as it's on our money, I'm going to state this: in God we trust. And everyone, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, feel free to contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guest on this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Products and riders may have limitations and may not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Compare when considering a replacement. Dividend rates and baseline of credit rates may change. Contact yourpersonalbank.com for current rates.